What's your name?
My name is Lubna Kabir, and I'm from Orange County, California.
You don't gotta look at
Oh,
the.
okay.
Just look straight at me.
Okay, yeah, okay. Yeah, so my name is Lubna, and
Uh-huh.
I'm from Orange County, California, and I'm 24 years old.
How are you? How's your day today?
I'm pretty good. I'm happy that it's my birthday today, actually, and
birthday.
I'm just enjoying the day so far. It just started, so after this, I'll be able to enjoy my birthday with my friends and family.
All right, so we'll get to the questions. Can you tell me a little bit about your childhood?
Okay, so I was actually born in Chicago, Illinois, and both of my parents are immigrants from Bangladesh. And so they actually moved to America when they were in their 20s, and then they had me in 1996, and I was in Chicago at the time, but then a couple years after I was born, they moved to San Jose, San Francisco area, the Bay Area basically, and I grew up there for part of my childhood until I was 6 or 7 years old. And when I was a child, I remember my parents were kind of poor because they didn't establish themselves yet. My dad was studying to be an engineer, and my mom was studying to become licensed to be a doctor in America, because she had already gone to medical school in Bangladesh, but then it was hard for her to get a license to practice here. So we lived in a small apartment in San Jose, and I remember I was like really happy as a child, and I am still an only child,
Yeah.
so I had to figure out ways to like keep myself busy and be happy and have fun. So I was very artistic, and I loved to draw and paint, and I had like a lot of picture books which I would color and draw on the pictures like of people. I would like draw more hair and jewelry and stuff, and I really liked Barbie dolls. I had like a really strong imagination when I was a kid.
What were your dreams as a kid?
When I was a kid, I really wanted to be an artist because I really like loved art, and I also went to art classes. Like my parents enrolled me in art classes. Like they enrolled me in everything: dance, art, music, playing the flute. But I really liked I really liked drawing pictures, and that was like what I found myself drawn to. So I really like that was my strongest dream, and I always
To be a painter?
not exactly a
Or,
painter, maybe like I didn't know about graphic design, and I don't think at that time there was enough technology to do that, but I really loved like painting and drawing and like anything artistic basically. I didn't really know exactly what kind of artist, but that was my dream.
Can you tell me about your relationship with your dad and how he made you feel?
I had a really amazing dad, and I'll tell you more about how that changed over time though, because it was like when I was very young, I started to realize like my parents had some problems. Like their relationship was not perfect, and I'm sure like no relationship is perfect, but when I was young, like my dad was the one who was taking care of me a lot and spending time with me, because my mom was working really hard to get her license to practice medicine in the US. And so like when I was a baby I was with my mom a lot, but then during my like elementary school years, my dad was helping me a lot, and he would be the one showing up at like my school events and picking me up from school, dropping me off at school. And I didn't see my mom as much, and they had like some conflicts. So when I was 16 years old, my parents got divorced, and my dad got remarried right away. And until that point, he was the main like supporter in my like life, and he did a lot of things for me. But after that, my mom got custody of me. I had a really rough few years during my teenagehood, and
How did that
yeah.
feel? How did it feel when your dad was around, always picking you up, always there for you, versus how it felt when he got remarried?
I felt like he had abandoned me, and he wasn't there anymore all of a sudden. So it was a very drastic change for me, and especially being a 16-year-old who was going through a lot of hormonal changes. I was like having a very rough time, and I actually like behaved poorly toward my mom at that time, which I kind of regret. Actually, I regret a lot, and I still have problems in my relationship with my mom because of that period of time. But I'm trying my best to make it through everything, and now that I'm an adult, I have to like be more mature about it. And even though I'm an adult, I still have some, like there's still some residue of what happened between my mom and dad that still affects me today.
Such as?
For example, like my dad, he lied a lot to my mom, and I know this is not a therapy session, but it's like a part of my story, so I just wanted to talk about it. And so my mom has a very hard time trusting people. And even though I believe I'm a very trustworthy person, I don't lie to people, sometimes she doesn't trust me either. And whenever I want to go and like make friends or like hang out with people outside or go somewhere, she always has kind of a paranoia about that. And I feel like she's projecting what she experienced with my dad onto me in a way. So it's something I struggle with on a daily basis. And also there's this other part where she really wants me to be a doctor, and she.
Do you still really want to be an artist versus?
Yes, that's the biggest like dilemma of my life.
Yeah.
The struggle to be what my mom wants me to be, to make her happy, versus being what I want to be for my own self. And I went to college. I went to Columbia University in New York City, and I studied biology and psychology as a double major. I was a pre-med student, but initially when I had applied to the school, I was intending to be an art major, a visual art major, but I didn't think that it would be possible to have like a reasonable career out of that, and I wanted also to make my mom happy. So
Are you happy while you're going to school for what you're doing, or?
When I was at school, I was happy. I knew that I was making my mom happy, and she was paying for my education. So maybe I could make her trust me more if I became a doctor. But now that I've already graduated, like after I graduated, I started to really miss my artistic pursuits. Like when I was in high school, I was very involved in art, and I took a lot of art classes, and I entered a lot of competitions, but I really missed that after I graduated from college. So after I graduated from college, I took up my own hobby, which is photography. And so I thought that was another way for me to express myself creatively without giving up what my mom wants me to do at the same time. Like, I don't have to be just one or the other. I can do both in a way. But I still have a lot of regrets because I feel like I could have been a great artist if I had followed my passions, you know?
But you still can be.
Yeah, I mean, I'm only 24 years old. I'm not, it's not the end of my life, hopefully.
What about, so we kind of went through your relationship with your mom and that,
Yeah.
but how did your mom make you feel versus how your dad makes you feel? Can you describe that? Because, you know, sometimes our parents make us feel different ways.
Yes, yes, for sure. My mom and my dad have very different parenting styles. For example, my dad is much more hands-off. Like, he expects me, like he doesn't expect me, but he like allows me to do things on my own and be independent in a way, because then I learn like what I like and don't like, and I can make decisions on my own. But my mom is more, much more controlling in a way, because she feels like I'm the only thing that she can control, especially after my parents separated. So she often tries to do things for me. Like, for example, I had previously applied to medical school, but I was rejected from all the schools I had applied to, partly because I felt like I wasn't ready and I didn't want to go to medical school. But throughout the whole process, my mom was the one trying to like do everything for me. Like she didn't do everything for me, but she was trying to do as much of it for me as she could, like researching the schools and checking over my essays, everything. And I felt like it was kind of unsolicited help, you know. It made me feel like I'm not competent enough to do things on my own. And
would you ever tell your mom that?
I've tried explaining it to her, but it's very hard to explain it to her.
You feel that you're not. How does that emotion feel when your mom is doing something that you know you can do 100% on your own, and that you should be doing on your own? How does that feel? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel kind of helpless in a way, because I can't have my own autonomy and I can't make my own decisions. And that's why I try to make sure I have something that is completely my own, which is my artistic pursuits, because nobody I didn't go to school for that, nobody paid for me to get an education in that, and I can say that that's something all my own. Whereas when I think about my education in the sciences, and maybe if I go to medical school, that education would kind of feel like it belongs to my mom. Like those degrees, they don't really feel like they're my own, because she's the one who paid for my education. She's the one who like tried to organize everything for me, like organize my life plan in that career path.
Do you think you can make it feel your own? Because you are the one, you have to get past the classes.
Yeah. In fact, like when I was alone, I was in New York living alone, away from my mom, and at the time I felt very much like I'm my own person, and all the hard work I did for my classes was very much my own blood, sweat, and tears, and it felt good. But then when I came back home, like sometimes I have arguments with my mom, and that's normal, but sometimes whenever I talk to her about how hard I worked and how I got an education at an Ivy League school, she says, well, who paid for that?
Classic.
Yeah. And it's like when I'm talking about it with you right now, it seems very like I mean, in a lighthearted way, but when I'm in the moment, like when she says those things to me, it really hurts, and it makes me feel very bad. But I'm not sure if she understands how it makes me feel.
I mean, how does she say it?
She says it like, I mean, she always brings up things from the past and relates it to my like behavior, I guess. She kind of makes me feel like a bad daughter because I didn't do everything according to plan, like according to the way she wanted me to do it. And I know that I didn't do anything wrong, but I feel like I have to remind myself that it's not my fault, but it's the trauma from her past that she projects onto me. And that's something a lot of people probably deal with, like in relation to their parents.
What do you think you learned from both your parents?
I think I learned that parents are people too, and they're not perfect. Like when I was young, I thought my parents were perfect, as most people do, but as I grew up, I realized that they're people. They have like a lot of flaws and imperfections, and they're very different from me because of the culture they were raised in, and versus the culture I'm raised in. There's a lot of conflict because of that. Like Western and Eastern culture are very, very different in their lifestyles and their beliefs.
Can you tell me about your first love and the emotions you felt with it And the first love can be any type, man. It can be anything. It can be a person. It can be pursuit. It can be whatever.
Okay. I mean, I can talk about both. So my first love as a person was when I was in high school. Actually, I mean, actually, that wasn't a first love. It was more like a crush. But I mean, I wasn't really in love with a person. I was in love with the idea of having a boyfriend.
Yeah.
So I had a boyfriend when I was 16 years old.
How did it feel?
It felt like really cool. Like I
Yeah.
could tell people I have a boyfriend,
Yeah.
and I could like go hang out with my boyfriend. It was kind of an escape from my home situation in a way.
Yeah.
Felt like there was someone who really cared, someone I can talk to about what's going on and like in my life, and they wouldn't judge me, and they would be like open-minded and understanding. So yeah, that's what I feel like any friend, like a good friend or a boyfriend should be like. So that was that. And but after that I had much better relationships, like more deeper relationships. But actually my true love is a pursuit, which is my artistic pursuits, because there's nothing like that makes me feel better than walking outside, taking pictures, and then when I'm back home and I like review all the pictures I've taken. I take pictures every day. It's my passion, and when I go home and I review the pictures I've taken, I feel like I make myself permanent, like immortal in a way through my art, because these pictures are going to last forever. Even if my memory of those moments doesn't last forever, I can always have these pictures. And I love playing with colors and editing pictures on Lightroom, and then creating like beautiful art out of them and sharing them on social media, because this is my, like, it's my passion, and nobody can like take that from me. I mean, people will come and go, and people are not always gonna agree with you, but if you have something that you can resort to that will always be there, like a talent, like musical, artistic, or anything, like writing, those things are always gonna be there for you.
Yeah.
Whenever nobody else is. So yeah.
Can you tell me about your first loss or heartbreak and how that felt?
Yeah, it actually relates to my parents, because my dad, as I said before, was a very important part of my life until I was 16, and after he got remarried and I had a stepmother, I felt like very heartbroken, because all the attention that he had given me previously was now going towards someone else. And I know that he's a man and he deserves to like be happy and have his life, but I felt like very abandoned in a way. And recently, actually in 2018, my stepmother and my father adopted a girl from Bangladesh. I felt like I was replaced in a way initially, but I love her now, and I hang out with her, and she's really fun. But I just felt very replaced, like he's trying to have a new family, and he forgot all the memories that he had with me as a child, which when I look back at pictures of myself with him when I was like very young, I feel very like emotional.
If you
I
could
start
describe
crying.
that feeling of being replaced, how does that feel?
It feels like I'm a failure, like I messed up in a way, and I'm not good enough, and like someone wants to start over and like throw me away. And this is a constant struggle. Like throughout my life, I feel like I'm a failure, because like my parents expected so much from me when I was young. Like, you know what, when you're young, you feel like your parents feel like they have a lot of potential for you, and you can do a lot of things. Like you'll be very successful. You can start now and just never make any mistakes, and you'll be perfect all the way through. But that's never how it goes, because as a person, I have my own like desires, but sometimes they're not gonna match what my parents want for me. And throughout like the course of my education, which is a big part of my life, I made a lot of like failures, and I realized like certain things are not for me, like certain fields of study, and I just didn't want to do certain like things. For example, like pursuing a career in medicine, I'm still doing it because I want to make my mom happy, but I don't know if it's like something I really want, and that's why I failed the first time in my first attempt to apply to medical school. So see, all of these things make me feel like a failure because I don't match up to the standards of what my parents want. But the one thing, as I told you before, that doesn't make me feel like a failure is my art, because that's who I really am.
So when you have those feelings of whether real or perceived, of being a failure, of not meeting expectations, somebody else's expectations, and how do you push through that emotional state to like keep on going?
I try to like bring everything back to myself, and try to imagine that my parents are not there, that it's just me. Like, I know that they're gonna die someday. Everyone dies someday, so I'm just gonna have to remember that I shouldn't sabotage my own success for like getting like revenge on them, or trying to like prove a point to them, because it's at the end of the day, it's my own life, and I need to make sure that I take care of my needs, like my financial needs, my personal like relationship needs, my artistic desires, everything. Like I have to focus on myself, because nobody else is gonna do that for me, even my parents.
Who first taught you love, and how did they teach you what love is?
Well, when I was very young, my mom was like taking care of me before she started her residency and everything, and like I felt like I was very innocent then, and I remember my mom used to play with me, and like she taught me how to draw things and do origami, and you know, like things that moms do with their kids when they're very young at home. And I felt like that was love. It was like having someone just, you know, love you unconditionally. And I feel like as you get older, you forget. Like, I forget that sometimes. And I wish I could go back to being a kid sometimes.
What's love to you now? Has it always been that, or has it changed? If it's changed, what was it to what you thought it was before to what it is for you now?
Well, now for me, love is more like, it's not just related to people, it's related to things like activities and things that bring me pleasure, like art, for example. Whenever I'm in the state of mind where I feel like I'm doing exactly what I should be doing for myself, and like something that makes me really happy, that's not too challenging but not too easy, like something that I feel like is something that puts me in a flow state, that feels like love. Like I'm in like union with God, basically. Yeah. When I'm doing something that I'm destined to do, I guess. And yeah, like it's like personal love. It's like I'm loving myself by doing those things.
How does it feel when you're doing those things?
I feel like very in touch with my inner self, and like nobody can break that shield.
Can you tell me about a general good day for you? Like just, you know, you're like, oh, this was a good day today.
Well, I don't know. It's hard for me to think about good days. I mean, I've had depression.
Yeah.
I've been through depression, and I know, like, at this point, like, most of my days are just normal, like, not bad, not good. I feel like because I've numbed my feelings a lot in order to study, in order to, like, get my work done and get good grades. Like, I have to, like, block out my emotions a lot, because I'm a very emotional person, and I get very, like, emotional. I start crying sometimes out of the blue for no reason. And when I have a good day, though, it's usually when I'm really like in touch with my emotions. So before I moved back to California, I was living in New York, and when I was there, I was doing a lot of photography, and I was very involved with like groups, like meetup groups, and I had a lot of friends who were artistic, so that made me feel really happy, like spending time with those kinds of people, like people who really understand me and are on the same page.
Support your art.
Yeah, and support me, yeah.
Tell me about a bad day and how you pushed through that bad day.
Well, I had a bad day, like when I was having an argument with my mom, and I was just like, I was studying for an exam that I had. I was at home, and she just makes me, like, she just kind of came up to me and she's like, why are you doing, like, did you finish this, did you finish that, blah blah blah, like just nagging me. And I was like, yeah, I'm doing what I can, like I'm doing my best, don't you see I'm studying all this time. And she just doesn't understand that I'm doing my best, and it made me feel like, as I told you before, kind of like a failure, like I'm not good enough. And whenever that happens, like I try to remind myself that I'm special. Everyone's unique, right? And what makes me feel unique is like my artistic accomplishments, and I try to remind myself of that. And I also like look back at pictures of my art and also myself when I was a kid. Like when I see a picture of myself as a child, as a baby, I think of like, what if I was taking care of that child? Like, would I want her to be like depressed or sabotage herself or anything? I want to treat myself as though I'm taking care of myself as a child. So that always helps me get through bad days.
What are 2 things or events or people that have shaped you, good or bad? How does it feel when you reflect on those? And it could just be one thing.
Okay. Well, one like very recent event that shaped me is my parents, my dad and my stepmom, adopting a new baby girl from Bangladesh, because I realized, like, after I like played with her, I play with her a lot whenever I go to my dad's house, and she is so innocent and she like loves me for no reason. Even I'm her sister, I guess, her stepsister, but she just like is so happy for no reason. And it makes me realize, like, we can all be like that. We don't have to be like shaped by like the negative events that we experience across our lives, and we're not born like that. It's just the world that makes us like traumatized sometimes, and events like that. So that made me like wiser, I guess. And I feel like it's really amazing that they can take care of a child that's not biologically their own and give her a better life. And I realized, like, if she wasn't in that position, she would probably live a very different life if she was in an orphanage. So that really humbled me. And should I talk about another event? Then?
Yeah, if you want. Yeah.
Okay. When my parents got divorced, that really was an awakening for me when I was 16 years old, and I started doing a lot of artistic things because of that. That like really helped me get in touch with my emotions and made me realize who my real friends are. Because when you go through a depression or something difficult like that, like a lot of people are alienated because they don't want to be around you. But the people who stuck with me are the people that I know are going to be there forever. Like, you can't be friends with everyone because not everyone is going to be there for you all the time, but you know who your real friends are when you go through a tough time.
Can you describe that depression?
I felt like it wasn't fair. Like, before that point, my life was so perfect. It seemed like it was so amazing, and I would always judge other people who have like depression, or the people in high school who were always loners and they were always sad by themselves. I would always judge them, and with my like cool friends, I mean, I was part of the cool kids. I was prom queen and everything when I was in high school, and I just remember thinking like me and my friends, we were so better than everyone else. And as I got older and like I had more experiences, and especially in college, I was not cool anymore. I was just like everyone else. I felt like I like having depression and things like that. It's normal. Like other people have a lot of things going on in their lives too, and we have to be empathetic and understanding, and know not to judge people just because of the way they act or look.
But as far as the depression, how did
Mhm.
it, like, what were the feelings like when you're actually in
Oh.
the depression? Like, when you're just by yourself
Mhm.
in your thoughts and in your feelings, how's that?
It's very dangerous
Yeah.
because I get so like caught up, and like it's like a spiral. It just gets worse and worse, and I get so caught up in my thoughts that I don't want to do anything else. Like I just sit there and think, or like lay in bed and just want to think, or like close my eyes and not be conscious, like just sleep, because it's too hard to think. And I end up like having a lot of trouble like getting things done, like basic things, which is typical in like a depressive episode. Um, and then after I'm happy again, like when I go outside and I'm like invited to something, so I have to go outside for the first time in a long time, and I realize like what have I done to myself? Like I realized that was very stupid of me, because there's like life outside. There's people that love me. There's a world outside to experience, and I shouldn't be caught up in my thoughts all day. So it's
Do you have
hard.
any I mean, the word I think of is any, like, I'm thinking tools, but do you have like anything you go to catch yourself now from going into that depressive state?
Yeah, like I mean, I had been to therapy,
Yeah.
and sometimes I still go to therapy, but other than that, I try to maintain emotional connections with people a lot, and try to talk to people who I can express myself to. Um, because I know I can't really, sometimes there's things I can't talk to my parents about, because there's a cultural discrepancy between us, and they're very close-minded on certain things. So I try to, like as soon as I feel bad about something, I try to find someone to talk to. And I think it's very important to find someone to talk to if you're feeling down.
What has inspired you and why?
Well, like with social media, we get access to so many like people's talents, and people can showcase everything they've done artistically. So I've been following a lot of people and like a lot of projects and things like that. It just really inspires me to see how many people there are in the world who are very artistically gifted, and everyone's unique. Everyone has their own style in a way. So that's what inspires me. And sorry, also I wanted to mention, when I was in New York, I went to a lot of art galleries. So I was like seeing a lot of art and culture, and it was very inspired, and that like kind of motivated me to be more prolific in my own art.
What has been a humbling experience for you?
Going to college at Columbia University was very humbling, because I was a pre-med student, and I had a lot of classmates who were very, very intelligent and almost intimidatingly intelligent. And I felt like I was never at the top of the class, and I didn't get any like honor, like cum laude, summa cum laude or anything.
Do you think if your major was art that you would be a top of the class student?
Maybe I would have been a top of the class student, because that's something that I feel like intrinsically motivated to do. And so that just goes back to my regret at not having done that. But I know I can't change that now. I mean, in the future, maybe I could go back to school and get an art degree, but for now, I have to live with the fact that I studied science. But yeah, anyway, it's like, that quote by Albert Einstein. It's like, if you try to teach a fish how to climb a tree, it's gonna grow up thinking it's stupid, or something like that. That's I feel like I can very much relate to that, because I like studying science and doing like organic chemistry, biology, all these things made me feel like not that smart.
That natural to you.
Yeah, it doesn't come to me as naturally, and it's not something I would like read up on in my free time, like
so when
other
you're
people.
in class with all these other students who some of them are intrinsically motivated to be doctors and have that knack for it, did you feel out of place?
Yeah, I often felt out of place. It's like the imposter syndrome. Like, I feel like I don't belong here. Like, I don't deserve to be here. Everyone else is better than me, and they're eventually gonna find out that I don't belong here. I don't know. It's like I get very into my thoughts about it, and it's hard sometimes. But I made it through, and I got good grades, nonetheless.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
Can you go in your mind and think, this life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual? Tell me about a time in your life that you would relate to the word war.
War. Right now, it's an intrinsic war between following my dreams and like listening to myself versus listening to my parents. I'm still at this age where I don't feel like I'm completely an adult, but I'm not a child anymore, or not a teenager anymore. I'm kind of in the middle, because I'm still financially dependent on my parents, but at the same time, I'm working towards becoming independent. And it's really hard for me to figure out what I want versus what my parents want, and which one is better for me. So it's always like it's constant. It never ends, and I feel like my whole life might be defined by this, although I know that's not gonna happen. And I don't know, it's just something I think about all the time.
How does that feel to be at war with yourself right now?
It feels very hard. Like on days when I feel like very high in my self-esteem and confidence, that's when I feel like I can do what I want to do. I don't care what anyone else thinks, even my family. I'm gonna follow my heart and my passions. But then on days where I feel very like bad about myself, like I could never make it as an artist, I could never be like as great as all these other people I see on social media, blah blah blah, I like think very negatively, and then I tell myself I should probably just do what my parents want me to do, and it'll be safe. I can be a doctor, make a lot of money, and yeah, it's more like a battle with my self-esteem, if anything.
So the same thing, go in your mind and think, this life event can be mental, physical, or spiritual. Tell me about a time that you can relate to the word peace.
Well, I was living in New York for 6 years alone while I was in college, and for a year and a half after. And when I was there, I felt like, it's ironic because New York is a very like hustle bustle city with a lot of things going on, a lot of noise. But at the same time, like whenever I went to the library at my college and I was alone with my books and just in the quiet, there's people around studying, but I'm just alone. Nobody's gonna bother me. Nobody's gonna like come to my room and knock on my door. and nobody's gonna do anything. So I just felt like very at peace, just like doing my work, reading books, and also that's something I feel like when I'm doing my photography as well. Like nobody can bother me, especially in New York when I was alone. Like my parents are not there. I just feel like I'm in control. That made me feel at peace.
Can you tell me about a truly difficult time in your life? The emotions that came with it and how you endured.
Like, well, the most, I already told you a lot about like the most difficult thing in my life, which was my parents getting divorced, and the residues of that, like the aftermath of that, was very difficult.
How did you endure? I don't think we went into too much detail how you
pushed through
that divorce time period.
Well, I had like I went to therapy also, and I had some friends that really understood, and they were there for me and supportive of me. And like I realized like I didn't have, I mean I could like, I try to do a lot of activities outside, like extracurricular activities, and make friends outside of the home so that I could find people to talk to. And the more I like volunteered at different places, I realized like my life is not as bad as other people's lives. There's like a lot of really bad things going on in the world. And studying psychology in college, I realized like there's a lot of like mental illnesses and trauma and a lot of bad things that happen to people. So my life is really not that bad compared to a lot of things out there. And just thinking about that made me feel like I can make it through if other people can make it through what they've made it through.
Can you tell me about a truly joyous moment in your life and how that felt?
Graduating from college was very joyous for me because I feel like it made me feel powerful, and I could have this degree and get a job and people would be impressed, you know. I went to an Ivy League school, so it sounds really good on my resume. I mean, I felt like I don't know if I really earned it, you know. I mean, I worked really hard, but I still felt that imposter syndrome at the graduation. But at the same time, I felt like, yay, I had like,
you did something.
I did something. It's like a tangible accomplishment.
Yeah. What keeps you up at night? Why do you think that is?
Like the fear of never like being who I want to be, like never fulfilling my dreams. And something like I Google a lot, like how does it feel to realize that you're never gonna fulfill your dreams, and I'm just like preparing for that because I don't know if I'm like I feel like I'm never gonna achieve my goal of being like an amazing artist and having like my work in a gallery or something. And I don't know, it's just at this time it feels like so far away. Even like becoming a doctor, as my parents want me to do, it seems so far away because there's so many hurdles and obstacles to get through, like the application process. There's so many people applying to medical schools. Everyone wants to be a doctor, and I feel like I'm just one in a bajillion. And this makes me feel very like sad sometimes, but then it also makes me feel like I don't have to take things so seriously. I'm only one speck in eternity, so why stress? I don't know. Thinking about all of this just keeps me up at night.
What keeps you going every day?
The hope that, like in the same time, as I told you before, what keeps me up at night is the fear that I would never fulfill my destiny or my dreams or whatever. But at the same time, what keeps me going is the hope that I could do those things and I could fulfill my dreams and my destiny, because I should at least try. If I don't try, I'll never know.
Imagine you're in the hospital today. You only have hours to live. What are your regrets?
Um, my my biggest regret actually would be probably like the times that I was mean to my parents or like misbehaved and stuff, because I realized like even they're gonna get old and they're gonna be very weak and unable to do things, and I feel like when I think of them in that state, it feels like all of the negativity and all of the arguments are very meaningless. Like it's not worth it to like fight with people. So and any negative feelings I've had towards people, and including myself, which is a constant battle. Like I don't want to abuse myself. I would regret abusing myself through like depression and things like that.
You're gonna make it. You're here alive and well. Do you feel that you can change those regrets from this point forward?
Yes, I believe I can. And it's hard to like really think about myself as almost dying, but like recent events with like Kobe Bryant dying, people dying, a lot of my friends died from the flu, so I don't know, it's like not a lot of my friends, like a couple of my friends, but like seeing people die reminds me that like we're all here for a short amount of time, and we don't know when we are going to die. So it's hard for me to imagine it sometimes. Like it's hard for me to remind myself of that sometimes. So I try my best, and whenever I do, it makes me realize that I shouldn't have, shouldn't fight with people, shouldn't have negative feelings towards myself, I should just live without regrets, let's say, and just be happy.
You tell me what your dreams were as a kid. What are your dreams now?
Now my dreams are to just live a peaceful life, and I don't have to be the best as I had dreamed of when I was a kid. Like I don't have to be a famous, amazing historical figure as I like wanted to be. I can be just, have a stable career and have a family, have a peaceful life with no fighting, no struggles, no interpersonal conflicts. That's my dream now.
So you're the author of your own life, but you're the main character. You get to write how it ends. What's your perfect ending?
My perfect ending is, I want to be very old when I die, and I want to have had a lot of like friends, a lot of people I care about throughout my life, a lot of meaningful relationships, a lot of special moments, and I want to have like a collection of all my photographs somewhere like tangible, not just on social media, but I want them like to be in a book also, so I can share it with the world, basically from my teenage years until I'm old. Like I want to be satisfied with what I've produced in my life, and also having like I hope I can raise children someday, and I want to be proud of my relationship with them, and I want them to be there when I die, so that like I can die peacefully, and like I want to have a good relationship so that they die loving me. So I die with my children loving me.
Yeah. That's it.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That was good.
Thank you.